Hey, do you ever have one of those times when you're doing a live stream and then all of a sudden the video gets stuttery and jittery and kind of icky sounding, and then the sync gets off, and like you're talking but it looks like a really bad kung fu movie with a really bad English or Japanese to English translation, and it's all off and all the sync is off and all this sort of stuff, and you're going, but I'm doing it the right way. You got a problem with your internet connection, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Hey guys, welcome to the Church Media Guys Show. If we've not met before, my name is Dave Curley, and I'm the founder of ChurchTrainingAcademy.com, which is a place that you and I can all go to learn how to leverage media and amplify the gospel and change lives. That's the whole goal of what we do. With me today is not my main man, Justin Nava, but my other main man, Mr. Bill Jones. Hey, Bill, welcome.
What's up? How's everyone doing?
They
Just hanging
seem
out.
they seem to be doing good. We've got a good chat going on in here. We've got a good crop of people. Hello to Christopher Hall, to Live Above Average. I'm not sure if we should call him Mr. Average, or above. Is that maybe goes by his middle name? Hello to Tom and App. Let's see, Absture and Rakshi Das. There's a whole lot of you guys in here. Let's see who else. Nicholas, Brian, Sharon. Hi, Sharon. Theo Terhorst. Hi. Marcia, Henry, Luis, Augustine, and Pete. Glad you guys are all here. If you are watching us live on YouTube and have access to the chat window, say hi, because we would love to say hi to you. Um, we are going. Hello, James. Today, Bill, we're gonna talk about internet connections, and kind of what's going on there, because right now, especially when we're doing our live streams from our churches, we're people are having really smooth live streams, and then all of a sudden they're not having smooth live streams, or they will have a problem this week, but next week they don't have a problem, and it's kind of like all over the board. At least that's what I'm seeing as far as the Church Media Hacks group. We're getting people that, good day, bad day,
Right.
good day, bad day. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we always have to cover the basics, though. So the first thing is if you are using Wi-Fi, stop
Yes, that is
and get hardwired.
that is number one. You can live stream on Wi-Fi. In fact, a little secret here: when we started the virtual church thing, one of the things that we did was, my pastor and I would do on Wednesday nights. We would do a Bible study, our study on heaven. He wrote his thesis, his doctoral thesis on heaven and the different ages of heaven, the phases that heaven has gone through. And so we were going through that Bible study, and he and I are like the only people on our campus at all at that time. It was like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night. No one else is there. It's just me and him. So I had the benefit of the network to myself. So I used Wi-Fi, and we never had an issue because it was just me and my laptop.
Right.
So instead of trying to get a cord long enough that could go into the jack in the media booth in the youth worship center and drag it out and do all this sort of stuff, I said, let's try Wi-Fi, and it worked. And we were doing 3 or 4 megabits, whatever it is, and we never had an issue because it was just us. If we had other people in the room who are connecting to Wi-Fi, even if they're going through the guest account, you start getting some radio traffic and stuff, and then they're doing things, and then before you know it, unless your network is optimized for live streaming or optimized for quality of service, to be given priority either to the act of live streaming, like the protocols that are used in there, video transmission, or the machines themselves, then you're going to have to compete with everybody else on there for time, just like everybody else is. And the network is going to say, he's watching a YouTube video, which that's coming down, but he's watching a YouTube video. This other guy's watching a YouTube video. I'm going to make sure that they both are able to see these things, and you're basically sharing that connection, and it goes up as well with uploading a picture, live streaming to Facebook, playing a video game and sending that data and stuff, you have to share that. And so Wi-Fi can get congested really quickly. So always plug in. But Dave, my laptop doesn't have an Ethernet jack on it. Too bad. it can.
Figure it out.
They make those USB dongles that you can plug in, and so it's just a USB on one end and it's a network jack on the other end. I use one at the television studio with my Surface tablet. Works like a champ. So you want to do that so that you don't have to worry about any kind of wonkiness, radio interference issues like that. Okay, so Bill nailed it. First off, always be hardlined. Let's talk for a sec about internet connection speed and what those numbers mean. First off, Bill, you know about speed test, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to show you guys something just real quick. It's called speed test, and I actually have to turn on the screen here because I didn't have it set up earlier. So there it is. Okay. Let me slide this over so you guys are going to be able to see it real nice. Okay, I can now cut to it. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what speed test is. If you just go to Google and type in speed test, it is going to come up with a nice little answer to the question speed test right here where it says run speed test. Now, for years, a lot of us have been using, and it's a great service. Ookla has a little speed test website you can go to. So if you go there, you'll get, all the ads and all that sort of stuff, but their little app will run, and you can hit go, and then what it's going to do is it's going to check your internet connection speed. The ping that I have is 16 milliseconds. The ping is basically how long it takes to get a response from something out there, okay? It's testing the download speed. You can see I'm running about 420 for my download connection and about 18 or so for my upload connection. The reason it's not over 20 is because I've got a machine next to this one that is actually using several of those megabits going up. So it's taking a look at what we have, and now I know my download speed is 422, my upload speed is 18. Okay, now I can check it again. So what's really cool is that you can check with different servers if you want to that are in your area. So I'll try one in Fort Worth, and I'll hit go, and we'll see how that is. So 17 for the ping, and the upload is going right about where it was, or even the download speed. And the upload speed is going to be right about where it was as well. Okay, so that's one way to do it using their site, or the other way, especially if you have to do it really quick, is to just use the one that's built in here to the search results. And you click on that. You don't get any ads or anything. And it's giving me about the same numbers. So in this like 2 minutes or whatever, I've done 3 of these speed tests. So I can reasonably say that my download speed is about 420 and my upload speed is about 17. Okay. With that, I can make decisions basically based on what I want to do as far as my stream goes. Okay. So if I have a 17 megabit upload speed, that means that I can push, ostensibly, I can push up to 17 megabits worth of data per second, which is actually really good. Bill, you remember when we first started doing networking back at whatever office that we were working at, and they put in a network, and we had these cards that we would have to put into our computers. And we would have,
yes,
they were 10 megabit cards. You remember that? They were, if we were lucky, they were 10 100s, which means they could work on a 10 megabit network or a 100, 10 times faster megabit network, right? So
that's right.
That is the kind of speed, and we're talking 1995 here. That is the kind of speed that we have going up the line, which is that old speed that we would have on our networks back in the day 25 years ago. Okay. It's a good speed, all things considered, for being on the internet, because we've learned over the years how to send a whole lot of data through a really small pipe in a really clean way. So that number is very respectable, wouldn't you say?
Yes. The fact of the matter is, right now, the majority of what is taking up traffic all over the world is really in two categories, and that is VR and gaming.
Right.
So
And
live streaming doesn't even really touch the cusp of those two markets.
right.
So, the fact of the matter is that we're in the golden age of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm out here in the country in the middle of nowhere, and I don't have near the download speed, of course, that Dave has, but I'm literally getting internet from a tower over a mile. Well, probably I think it's 5 or 6 miles from my house.
Uh-huh.
And I'm getting almost 50 down, which in the country is
In the middle of nowhere is really good.
But it also goes back to the way that all the programs and all the hardware is optimized.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave and I are sitting here live streaming. I'm talking to Dave on Skype. I'm pushing out all this data via video, via audio. And while I've got emails coming through, internet browsers up, and my kids are probably somewhere in the house using the internet connection to watch YouTube TV.
Mm-hmm.
So all that happening all at once while my son's probably done supposedly cleaning the flower bed and is now playing some video game that requires an internet connection.
Right.
So we're in a really good spot, guys. So I think the gist of it is there really isn't any reason why you shouldn't be able to get good internet connection for what you're doing.
Right.
If you take the time to analyze and understand what you have and how you can upgrade it.
So let's break that down a little bit. So understanding what you have, the first thing, and everybody's kind of at a different place. We talk to like our members. We have the Insider program. We have people that are church secretary who's now in charge of this. We've got people who are just volunteers who go work up in the booth, who have an idea that we've got fast internet, but they really don't know what the package is and stuff. That's okay. Using a tool like Speed Test will give you an idea of what that package is. Okay, what your internet connection issue is. We had our group coaching call last night, and one of the people I was talking to, they're like on a DSL type connection, like a DSL connection from like 15 years ago at their church that's never really been upgraded, and the upload speeds are less than half a megabit. So you guys saw my number up there around 17, and that's while I was actually live streaming. So it's actually like about 22 or so. But hers is like 500K. So not megabit, but K, okay, kilobits. So, I mean, she could barely send emails, okay, much less try to actually get a live stream going. So when you have an idea of what that is, you now know that you have a framework that you can work in. Now, Bill, you talked about optimizing stuff. Just really quick at a high level, one of the things that you can do if your church, if your network setup is set up with managed switches, okay, that's what they're called. You'll have basically a pipe coming in from the internet or from the cable company, and that comes into a modem, and then that modem connects to a router/switch that then allows all the other computers to connect and share that connection, okay? If it is a managed switch, and a lot of companies use these, everything from a small mom and pop business to, big, huge enterprises and stuff, they have these little hubs that everything is plugged into that they can actually log into and prioritize certain things. At home, you and I have the ability to turn on what's called like quality of service, QoS. And what that does is it gives certain types of traffic a priority over other certain types of traffic. For example, you could say that if Bill, at your house, if you guys game a lot, then you could say make sure that gaming, using your Xbox or PS4 or whatever like that, make sure that gaming traffic gets more priority than Netflix traffic or video traffic. So
Right.
if you guys are all gaming, all the boys are gaming, and your wife is trying to watch something on Netflix, her Netflix may kind of go down a little bit in quality.
So you have to switch the priorities there.
Right. Um, and she just has to understand. It's just no two ways about it. But what would basically happen is instead of her seeing a 4K movie, she may be watching a 1080, just a regular HD movie.
Right.
Because you guys sending and receiving all that gaming data needs to have the priority so that you don't get killed in the middle of your game because it got all slow. So we can do that even if you're using a home type connection, not a business account with Spectrum or Time Warner or whoever you're using at your church. Even with those tools, you can usually turn on the quality of service stuff and say, make sure video traffic is done. What's really cool is that if you're using like a managed switch, like from Cisco or something like that, that you can actually log into and really start setting parameters, you can actually do what, unfortunately, I'm unable to do at our church, which irritates me, is set up a virtual network. It's called a VLAN, a virtual LAN, local access network. And what you're able to do is say, these handful of computers, put them in their own little network and don't let any other computers touch them, which is really cool. So you could take, say, the Pro Presenter machine and the machine that you have vMix or OBS running on, and maybe if you're using an iPad to control the stuff on your soundboard, you may want to put that in there as well. So these handful of things that need a lot of priority, then you can put them all on one network inside the network. So basically, it's like all the other computers are over here, and these computers are over here. And they share that connection that goes out. And then you can say, that network gets priority. And in some cases, you can dial it in and say, that network on Sundays and on Wednesdays gets priority over anything else. And then for the rest of the time, which you don't do any live streaming, then it's kind of opened up and everybody gets all the access and stuff. So that is a kind of a very quick, high overview about something that you can do, turn on quality of service. If you can set up a VLAN, set up a VLAN, okay? Now, I said we couldn't do it at our church, and the reason we can't do it at our church is because over the past 20-something years, we've been adding and patching and trying to fix our network and stretching it as we grow and do all this sort of stuff, and we have way too many unmanaged switches just, in the way. Case in point, you go into an office, and that office now has like 5 desks in it, but it only has the one jack in the wall, so we, go buy a $50 little switch, plug it in, and now they all can. Well, that's an unmanaged switch, so we can't talk to it and tell it to do something specific for those computers, and that's kind of frustrating. But if you can, it makes it real smooth.
So Dave, let me have a question for you.
Yes.
From the chat here.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say that we've done all you've just specified. We've got the network down. We're good to go. We feel like our internet speed is good. It's isolated.
Right.
All those things. And then Neil here in the chat says, actually, I'm sorry, not Neil. Neil, I'll come back to you, but it was AP Shearer. Mm-hmm. They have 150 up, 150 down, hardwired into the router. Digital got choppy. 60 minutes into the account, lasted 2 or so minutes. Was OBS at fault? Possibly.
Possibly, but it could be other stuff. Here's an example. At our church, we have whatever. He's got 150 symmetrical, which is the same up as it is down, which is fantastic. I would take that over like a gig down and 20 up.
Right.
That is fantastic. However, question: is this happening every week, Or is it just every once in a while this little thing happens, it lasts a couple of minutes and then it's fine? At our church, one thing that we have seen, and it's so weird, we have not been able to nail it down, and the cable company has not been able to nail it down. We will,
Uh-oh.
huh? Yeah, I know. That's a whole nother thing, trying to deal with them. But what'll happen is we'll be streaming, and all of a sudden we lose that connection, and about 15, 20 seconds later, it's right there again, and it's working just fine. And everything's fine, and everything will be fine for the next, I don't know, 6 hours. And then it'll kind of go, we're up, it's gone. 20 seconds later, it's back. It's as if you unplug the cable, took a few sips of your coffee, plug the cable back in. Don't know what's causing it. Total pain in the butt. Thankfully, a lot of the streaming services will try to reconnect and try to reconnect and try to okay, now I can reconnect. And it's a hiccup for the viewer, but it picks up and goes off versus cutting the whole thing. And then when you start again, it's starting a new copy of it, a new stream that they have to go visit. And, basically bifurcates it across 2 posts, which is always a pain.
So, Dave, would you recommend always bringing boxes of cookies to your local internet company service provider, tech?
Yes.
Make sure it goes to the tech.
Yes, exactly. When you're driving around and you see them with the little cones out in front of their van and they're working at somebody's house, take them some water.
You stop and bring a Gatorade.
Yeah, bring them a taco. Do something like that. And be sure they know what house you live at.
Make sure you're wearing your church's T-shirt.
Yes, that's right. So anyway, that is OBS the problem? Did OBS crash? Probably not. A lot of it, as far as OBS specific, that's something we're going to get into here for a sec. One of the things that we see, Bill, is that someone will start doing their live stream and everything's okay, and then halfway through, all of a sudden the audio gets kind of, and they can't, said, the audio gets kind of choppy and they can't understand what's being said. That was my Chevy Chase thing. I'm waxing Fletch here. Or the video will get really, really bad and stuttery and kind of look terry, like in the Matrix, like it's all kind of falling apart. And they may get a picture every, half a second or so. So instead of like 30 frames a second, they're seeing like 2 frames a second, and it gets really bad. That 9 times out of 10, what I'm seeing is that is because you're trying to push too much out, and the pipe that you're trying to send it up can't handle it. Okay, let me share my screen. I'm going to bring up OBS and go in there. Whether you're doing this, making these settings in OBS, or whether you're making these settings in vMix, the settings are basically the same. Where you get them is in 2 different places, but when you know what you're looking for, you'll be able to find it. Let's jump over to, move that mouse out of the way. Okay, so here we are. Oh, there we go. That was a neat little mirror effect there. Okay, so here I am in OBS, and when you are, first off, as you can tell, I use the preview and program studio mode so I can see what's going to come up and then what's going out. When you click over here in the settings, and you're going to go to the settings page, and you have access to all kinds of information on here. When you go to the stream, you see the service that you're using and the server, whether it's a local server or whatever, and you have your stream key. We all know where that is, right? Okay. Just beneath that is the output settings, okay? The output settings allow you to determine what is going to go out the door and what's going to be recorded and all that. So I've got my output mode set to advanced so that I can actually affect the streaming, the recording, the audio at the same time. Get down to the nitty-gritty on these things, okay? So when you're taking a look at the streaming, you've got your rate control, which is constant bit rate, average bit rate, variable bit rate, or I can't remember what CRF is. I always tell people to use CBR, which is constant bit rate, which means it's going to try to maintain that 2500K or 2.5 megabits up. Now, if you remember, when I was doing the speed test, it showed that my number was 17 megabits, which is 17,000 K. Okay, if I tried to push 17,000 K or 17 megabits of data out the door, out the pipe, then as soon as someone else tried to do something on my network, I would start knocking into that available 17,000. Okay, so what that would mean is that all of a sudden OBS is trying to send information out, and the pipe has gotten smaller, and now you've got stuff falling off. Think of it um, like when you like when you have a pitcher of water and you've got a cup, and you're going to pour the pitcher the water into the cup. Let's see how I do it. You try to pour the water into the cup. If you pour it at a slow and steady rate, you don't have any issues. Exactly what goes in, and when you're done, you can stop, and it's great. If you took the whole thing and just kind of dumped it, then you'd probably fill up the cup, but a whole lot of it would fall off and get all over the place, and you'd lose a lot of that water. Same deal. If you've got a upload speed of 17 megabits and you're trying to push 17 megabits of data, as soon as something else tries to use that and push out, upload a video, do a Facebook Live from your phone. Somebody in the church is trying to do that. Now they're trying to use that 17 megabit pipe as well, and you're trying to use it. And so now you've got, your 17 of data is trying to go up, and maybe their 5 of data is trying to go up. So you got 22 of data trying to go through a 17 hole, and it's not going to work. So what we tell people is whatever your max upload speed is, you basically want to cut that into thirds, and that first third is what you should play with. So back over here, I was averaging in the 3 times that we did it. I know that I pay for 25, right? So I pay for 25, but right now, today, at this moment, I was getting an average of 17. So I'm going to bank on an average of 17, which when I do that by 3, calculator, 17 divided by 3 is 5.6. So I could get away with doing 5600K, which is 5.6 megabits of data. Okay. Now, I may want to try to increase that a little bit. I may want to try to decrease that a little bit, just depending on what's going on. So if I have it set at 5.6K and I start live streaming, then there's a good chance that I will be able to work within that available frame or that available pipe. Okay. So it's kind of like having a 6-inch pipe and putting a 2-inch rod in that pipe. I got plenty of clearance. I can do it without a problem, versus a 6-inch pipe and trying to fit another exact 6-inch pipe in there and actually get it inside. You're just not going to be able to do that. So when you start seeing the stuttering and those sort of things happening, the first thing I would tell you to do is, if you can, without interrupting your stream, go and lower that number. Okay? Now, the cool thing about OBS is you can do it on the fly, and I have done it on the fly. When you're looking at OBS, this may be hard for you to see, but down here at the very bottom, you've got some statistics, okay? You've got your CPU usage and your frame rate. So, like I said, it's really hard for you to see, but when you look at your OBS window, down at the bottom, I've got mine set to 29.97 frames per second. So when I'm live streaming, ideally, that number will stay the same. If my machine is being used by other things and I'm starting to really punch the resources, I may go down to 24 frames a second or whatever. This number may fluctuate. The CPU usage is what you really care about. You want to keep that as low as possible, but keep that stream as high quality as possible. So if I'm at 30% CPU usage, that's fine. If I get up to 89%, I'm starting to have a problem, okay? And this number, by the way, will increase big time if you are trying to upload through your stream. If you're trying to stream more data than that pipe will allow. So if you're trying to push 25 megabits through a 17 megabit pipe, this number, the CPU, is going to go crazy because OBS is trying to get all of that data out of that pipe. And when it starts falling off, it's going to start seeing errors and trying to fix those errors. And your whole system's going to slow down and everything just kind of starts getting really jacked up. When you're looking at your live number right here, you'll see how long the live stream has been going. And then over here to the side, it's not showing it, but if we were streaming, it would be. You will start seeing dropped frames, okay? Ideally, you're going to see that number be 0. If you start seeing that number creep up, then you know that you are losing data, which means you're pushing too much than it can have, and you're starting to spill, okay? You're dropping frames. I couldn't get this frame to go up, so I just forgot about it and moved on to the next one. In OBS, you'll also see this being green or being yellow, which means I'm starting to have problems, or being red, which is this is horrible, I can't do anything, I'm losing all kinds of data. So 9 times out of 10, using OBS, when you see this problem, and same thing actually with vMix, we use vMix here. Like right now, I'm looking at my vMix window, and the stream button is red, which for me means everything's fine. If it started going yellow, then that means my connection has slowed down, and I'm trying to send more out than I can handle. And if it stays yellow, then I've really got a problem because you guys are starting to see really jacked up stuff, you know? Unfortunately, in vMix, you can't do it on the fly. I can't just go in and change the number like I can in OBS. In OBS, no matter what I'm doing, if I start off with, say, 5600 or 5.6 megabits, and all of a sudden I start seeing dropped frames, and I can come in here and I can change that and hit OK, and these numbers down here will adjust accordingly. And all of a sudden I'm sending 5 megabits up. Or, you know, it's still not happening, so I'm just going to try 2500 megabits. And I do that, and now everything levels out. I'm not dropping frames. Everything's nice and smooth, and I'm not having a problem, okay? If your system, by the way, if your system has resource issues, we had someone ask who said, like, I have 4 megabytes of RAM, or 4 gigs, excuse me, 4 gigs of RAM in my computer, and we're having problems with OBS. Then again, back here in the OBS window, in the output, you can adjust your CPU usage preset. The higher this is set, the less of the CPU will be used. So you can like change it to like ultra fast, super fast, very fast. If you have a really major computer, then you can like lower it and actually get a whole lot more use out of your CPU. But, you know, if you're set it very fast, try taking it up to super fast. If you're still having problems, go up to ultra fast. Play with that a little bit, okay? And also, if you don't have the specs, if you don't have 8 or 16 gigs of RAM, then you also should consider whether you actually want to be recording or not. Do I want to? Ideal situation is you're going to stream and you're going to record locally so that you can take the local one and turn it into your podcast or whatever. The stream, obviously that is priority because you got people watching on the other end. So maybe not recording, and then maybe just downloading your stream and editing it and trimming it accordingly. So just a few considerations for that. But basically the rule of thumb, guys, when it comes to live streaming, as far as your computer specs go, is spec it out as best you can, okay? Don't try to, if you got 4 gigs of RAM on a 7-year-old laptop, that doesn't have any kind of video card or anything like that, just uses the system memory and all that, don't try to stream 1080p, do 720, do 640 by 360, if you're going to do that. And don't try to stream some super, we got a 100 megabit upload speed, so I'm going to try to do 50 megabits. I'm sorry, dude, that computer's not going to be able to handle that. So you just need to work within those specs. Max out your RAM, okay, if you can. Also, this is sacrilege. Also, live streaming works a whole lot better on PCs than it does on Macs. Okay, just there's more software available. There's more development.
That's right.
That is done. And why Macs are better for? Okay, listen. Here's the reality of the situation. All of this live streaming stuff was really started by people that were gaming and wanted to stream their World of Warcraft session where they're fragging all their friends and stuff. That's just the way it is. So these people created OBS. These people
That's right.
took these gamers and stuff. They said, let's start developing this software that will allow us to live stream, and they're all on PCs. They're not playing these,
It's all about Twitch.
yeah, they're not playing all these games and stuff on Macs. You can play some of them and they work just fine. But the reality is that 90% of them are all played on PCs. So these guys developed.
You get more for your money.
You do. And so they developed all this. Well, now we're using what they were using or have been using to stream their games. We're looking at streaming our events, our worship services, our Bible studies, our concerts. Our us right here. We're doing this TV show. So most of the stuff is developed and improved on for PCs, and the PC Windows itself has more access to hardware than the Mac does. Apple has a closed architecture. Even though they're using off-the-shelf parts for a whole lot of stuff, for example, when I bought my MacBook back in 2007, my wife bought a Sony laptop. They were spec'd identical. They were using the same motherboard. They were using the same memory. They were using the same processor, the same chipset on the motherboard. But mine was the only one available for Apple. Apple said, we're going to use this motherboard in all of our MacBooks at this time. Sony was like, okay, we're going to use this one for this class. We're going to use this motherboard for this one that has a better chipset and faster processors and can take faster RAM. We're going to use this motherboard, but we're going to put in these processors and we're going to put in this RAM and stuff. So they had more flexibility across it. Apple ends up being a lot more stable because they have a limited number of variables, which is why your Mac doesn't crash near as much as, say, Windows does, because they got a whole bunch of variables. So there's a trade-off. So just keep that in mind. Hey, we want to build a live streaming rig. We want to get a Mac Pro, and we want to do all this sort of stuff and all that. I say, you know what? Get a Windows machine and use something like vMix, or use the Blackmagic ATEM with the ATEM Studio software running on a PC. We can do it on Mac as well. You've got other things like that. If you're going to overbuy hardware, you're going to have a limited scope of of what you can do and what the software you can run. vMix, which is one of the standards, we tell everybody, live stream with vMix. I mean, if you have no money, get OBS. If you're on a Mac and have limited experience in doing any of this, definitely go with Ecamm Live because it is phenomenally good and it really works really well. It's Mac only though. But if it's like, hey, we've got some money, we're going to invest in this, we want to actually build something out, we want to have a whole bunch of cameras, we want to have a whole lot of flexibility, we want to be able to grow from this into the next level with relative ease, then we say, build a PC or buy a PC and use vMix. And then it's a matter of adding another card or changing out the video card and adding more capacity and doing stuff like that. So anyway, that's just that's from the system aspect of why these things are. Back to the internet connection speeds and all that, it all comes down to playing within the playground that you currently have. You start by doing a speed test. If you do a speed test on a Tuesday morning when no one's at the church, you're going to get one set of numbers. When you do it on Sunday morning after the church service has started and the building is full and people are running around and there's 150 telephones on the Wi-Fi network through the guest account, and you've got someone's printing out bulletins or other things to handouts and stuff, and all this sort of stuff is happening on your network, and you do a speed test, you may see similar but different numbers. You may see the download is great, but the ping rate gets really high because a bunch of people are using your network. Or you may see that your upload speeds are cut in half, after you've done it like 5 times in a row. You may find your upload speeds are basically cut in half because other people are doing stuff. They're on Facebook. They're doing some kids playing Minecraft. all that kind of stuff is happening. So those are the numbers that you need to bank everything on, because that's in the moment and what's happening right there. Wouldn't you say?
Well, you also have to remember that all your worship band is on music stand.
Yeah. A lot of them are using iPads and stuff.
So, well, in music stand right now, because I know a lot of worship teams use a music stand, and through I can't remember the name of the company right now, but it's the check-in service company. They also have a worship tool called Music Stand, and so they don't have an option now where you can download and use chord charts. It's all hooked up live to their servers. And so unless you're connected to the internet, you can't have access to the music.
Right.
So you have to take that into consideration. If you have 10 people in your band, then you probably have 10 iPads, and they're all connected to Music Stand all at one time, and they have to download those chord charts as they slide over to them.
Right.
And so
it's everything's coming in real time, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here's a question, Dave.
Yes.
So does our service that we recommend, Restream,
Yes.
does Restream, and is there any optimizations to be made when it comes to internet connection speed with Restream? Does Restream help in this in any way?
Oh, yeah.
Or are all these factors on our side of the pipe, and Restream doesn't really have much to play in that role?
So where Restream comes in is when you want to go to multiple platforms, okay? By the way, you guys can get $10 credit if you go to getrestream.com and sign up. You can get a $10 credit when you sign up. We love Restream. I'm actually using Restream right now, even though I'm only streaming to YouTube, for the simple fact that if I wanted to go to Facebook Live, I could toggle Facebook Live and we'd be live on Facebook like that, okay? If you're trying to stream to multiple platforms, for example, want to go live on Facebook Live and want to go live on YouTube, and let's say you're using vMix. vMix has that built in. So I can go in and put in my credentials for YouTube. I can go in and put in my credentials for Facebook Live. When I hit the stream button, it's going to connect to both of them and send a 1080 stream up to YouTube and send a 720 stream to Facebook. And the computer can handle it because it is, it's an i7 and it's got 32 gigs of RAM, and it's got a 8 gig graphics card, so it can handle all those encoding sessions and a recording as well without a problem. Okay, that's great. If I have a 5 megabit upload speed, then I'm trying to send maybe 1 megabit to YouTube and 1 megabit to Facebook Live, because we're trying to follow that 1/3 rule. So I'm sending low quality to both. Well, if you use somebody like Restream, then you could send, say, a 2 megabit or a 2.5 megabit, whatever you want to do, stream higher quality to Restream, and then let Restream transcode it and send it to each of those destinations. So
there's our advantage, right?
That's big time. That's a big time advantage. You are using the pipe that you have with maximum effectiveness. So you're sending one stream out, but Restream is syndicating that stream to other services, other platforms. So Restream is doing the heavy lifting, not your internet connection, if that makes sense. Plus, if you do have a really limited connection, like a 5 megabit connection, if you try to stream to two places, like I said, you're streaming low quality to this one and low quality to this one versus streaming good quality once. So you just basically double all those bits and can focus all that on Restream. Let them do the heavy lifting. It's really cool.
So what I hear you saying is that if you have internet issues, or if you're wanting to optimize, even if you have great internet, and you want to just make sure you're maximizing the output to the pipe, a tool like Restream is pretty much essential.
It is if you're going to multicast, if you're going to simulcast on different platforms. So
is there any reason why you would recommend someone not multicasting? Like, would there ever be reason to not be on YouTube and Facebook at the same time?
I have a hard time. For me, it's a rule that you do that, especially with churches. Now, hey, you guys are not live streaming on Facebook right now with your show. That's right, because our strategic goal is to grow our YouTube channel. That's where we want you guys interacting with us because we want more YouTube juice. We've got almost 10,000 members in our Church Media Hacks group, so that channel is growing really nice. We're trying to grow YouTube, so we're not streaming to Facebook Live because we don't want to split the audience across those. We want you guys over here so that YouTube is happy with us and gives us preference and helps us get our message out to more people. We're using the YouTube algorithm to our advantage. Now, your church, different set of goals, okay? Your church goal is to, number one, reach the people that belong to that church. YouTube is the lowest common denominator when it comes to live streaming. So when you are live streaming to YouTube, anybody with a link can get that file, okay, and watch it. Yes, Facebook lets you not have an account on Facebook when you are when you're watching. You up until a month or so ago, you had to have a Facebook profile if you were going to consume any kind of Facebook content. That makes sense. You come into, it's kind of like going into Sam's or Costco. You can stand at the door and look at the outside of the building, but you can't really see what's going on inside. You get the card and become a member, then you go in and you get the discounts and you can see what's on sale and you can, try all the food samples and stuff. Same thing with Facebook. Now, what they've done with video is said video can be viewed by a person without having to have a Facebook account. That's great. That was like a direct response to we're all live streaming our churches and people don't want to necessarily get a Facebook account, but they want to see the thing. Facebook said, got that covered. Okay. Now, will they change that? I don't know. For me, YouTube is the lowest common denominator regardless of what Facebook decides to do. So I standardize on YouTube, which means if Miss Betty, who doesn't have a Facebook account, has email and has a computer or has a smartphone that is with those jitterbugs with 5 buttons and stuff, she didn't even have YouTube installed on there. She just has a browser and she has a couple of things that she doesn't use and chat, messaging or whatever. We can text her a link that says, "Good morning, Miss Betty. Here, watch our worship service live. Click on the link with your finger," and then she'll click on that link, and all of a sudden, it does the rest. Boom, she's seeing the video. She doesn't have to go to Facebook, doesn't have to sign in. She doesn't have to go to YouTube and create an account. She can just watch it. So, should we be streaming to YouTube? Absolutely. Also, what's cool about YouTube is it's highly indexable across the internet. So they know what is being said as your video is streaming. They're reading the language. They're doing translations. They're generating captions as it's going. So they know that you're talking about the book of Matthew and you're talking about the Beatitudes. So there's a good chance that after you have later gone into YouTube and put in your description, the Sermon on the Mount, Beatitudes, other keywords, maybe even listed them out and put scripture references in your description and stuff, that at some point when somebody is searching for Sermon on the Mount, what was it that Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount? Blessed be the meek or something, and they're doing a Google search for that, maybe your video will show up. Maybe your video will show up because of all the localization stuff that is out there that Google uses. So since
Near Me,
Near Me is a church that has a video that talks about the Beatitudes or the Sermon on the Mount, and I'm looking about this, I now have this church's thing. Oh, maybe I could go, join this church or visit this church or meet some people from this church or watch this church's live stream on Sundays. You have more options and greater reach by doing that. Now, why should we stream to Facebook Live? Because that's where everybody is. Just that's the reality of the situation. Well, we don't have a lot of technically savvy people in our church. I'll bet you these people have Facebook. I'll bet you. Yeah. Unless they're all running around with flip phones, like literally the entire town, is running around with flip phones, and we have horse-drawn carriages. Everybody's on Facebook. We just are. That's the way it is. So that's where the people are. So go where they are. Go ahead.
So, okay. All right. So we've established that. So Greg has a question about Restream.
Mm-hmm.
He says that we have a fiber line and speed tests are great, but I'm only getting at most 3 meg up via Zoom going to Restream and then just Restream to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Can Restream stream a faster rate than 3 or 3.2 meg up?
As far as I know, they can. They'll take whatever you can send them. Let's see. Okay, so the platform only provides the recommended maximum bit rate of 4 for video. And then when you put audio in there as well, you get up to maybe 5.7. So that's what I just did a very quick thing. This comes from their blog, and I don't see a date on it. So the reason is, they're ingesting a whole lot of stuff and sending a whole lot of stuff out. So if they've set it at 5.7 or a 4 megabit stream, that's good. I mean, I'm seeing at our church when we stream, we get close to the 5 megabit range, and that's cool. If you're able to, and you're doing it through Zoom, so Zoom may also have some restrictions on what it's going to push out. Again, you're using Zoom's resources when you are live streaming. So they have ingest servers that are ingesting that data and then turning around and pushing it out. And so they may have, caps put on that as well. If you can get consistently, if you can get a 5 megabit stream going out, then I say you're doing good and you're actually going to have some pretty good quality. If you have a need that you really need to push 10 megabits or higher, and if YouTube will accept them and if Facebook will accept them, which they won't, they have a cap for what they can what they'll pull in as well. And you've got the horsepower to do it, then by all means, install vMix and set it up so that you can, stream to the max that each platform has. Just be sure you spec out that machine good though.
Also,
yeah,
we did have a question about using the possibility of using hotspots.
Oh yeah.
And
okay. Yeah, I saw that about the Verizon Jetpack. Someone was asking about Verizon Jetpack.
Right.
Okay, here's the deal. You're using cellular, LTE, whatever, to do that. If the signal is really strong and it's good, and I'm using Verizon, and where I'm standing right now in my house, I have like 2 bars, and the 4G is not lit. If I move to the backyard, I get a bunch of bars and the 4G is lit. So if it works and you get good stuff, I was in Hope, Arkansas, not at the Clinton Museum and Massage Parlor.
Yeah, right.
But I was actually at a blacksmith's house, and we saw this is back when 4G had been rolling out, and we saw a cell tower, and in that area we had maybe 6 ranches or something. That's about it. When I did a speed test, it was blazing fast. I mean, it was ridiculous, the upload speeds and the download speeds that I had. I mean, the numbers were why can't we get this at the office kind of numbers, It was fantastic. Obviously, very little usage, really good power, and very little usage, so you weren't competing on it. If you're doing it in a metropolitan area, you may have some competition. If you're doing it in an area that gets a spotty connection, then where are you placing this? You may have to move it around your building and stuff. So my question is, why are you wanting to use that? Okay, is it because you can't get cable where you're at? You're in a city that doesn't have a fiber rollout or whatever. If that is your only, the only thing that you have available to you, then I would recommend that you make sure that you're the only thing connecting to it, that it's not available for anyone else. Maybe you and the ProPresenter machine, but that's it. Don't let anybody else get on that because they'll start eating up that space. Also,
that's probably what they're thinking of more of anything is how do you isolate?
Right. You don't publish that SSID.
And still provide because you're going to have everybody coming in going, where's the Wi-Fi?
Right, exactly.
So there's going to be an exchange there where you're going to have to decide, even if you use a mobile hotspot, like you said, you're going to have to optimize it. And so you can't
The easiest way to optimize it is
both and.
easiest way to optimize it is don't let anybody else use it. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Right.
And unpublish the
Just got to
ID.
turn it off.
Yeah, unpublish the ID so no one knows what it is except the 2 people or the handful of people that are connecting to it with the 2 or 3 machines that need to use it. One thing that if you're doing mobile streaming, and mobile streaming can work just fine. I mean, absolutely. But when you're doing it, one of the things that that everybody says to do is have multiple. So if you get like the backpack streaming rig, for the life of me, the name of it has just completely lost. Oh, it's not Ustream. For the love of Pete, LiveView. The LiveView unit, portable streaming unit. That is designed to work with like multiple providers. So you put a card in for Verizon, you put an AT&T one in there, you put a T-Mobile one in there, you put a Sprint one in there, and then it's going to gang those together and use the upload and the throughput of all those as one big fat pipe. And then if one of them has a spotty connection, the others can make up for it. Usually what we see is that Verizon is really strong in this area and AT&T is kind of spotty. Sprint is really good and T-Mobile is great. Okay, but as we move to another location, then it's like T-Mobile is spotty, but Verizon and AT&T. But when you're doing this, obviously there's more expense in that because they have either data caps or they have usage caps or speed caps or anything like that. So those are other things that you need to look at. If you have an unlimited data plan, is it unlimited data at 4G the entire time? Or is it unlimited data for the first 10 gigs of 4G?
Exactly.
And then it's 3G or metered for the rest? Those are the considerations that you need to look at.
Also, you can get a signal extender.
Yes.
Here's an idea, guys, for all of you out there that know that people almost complain about Wi-Fi or no Wi-Fi as much as they do about changing the church carpet. One thing you could do is completely dedicate your Wi-Fi for what you're doing from a service standpoint only during the service, but also making sure that you're getting significant cell phone signal within the building. And if you're not, you can always add a cell phone extender, and that way you've kind of hit 2 birds with the same stone. You're giving internet access by increasing the signal in the building by doing what you can with that, but also dedicating the Wi-Fi, for what you're doing live streaming. Right. The other thing you can also do is turn Wi-Fi on before and after service, but only dedicate Wi-Fi for live streaming during the service.
Right, exactly. And taking one step back from all of this, ask yourself when your internet service was upgraded. Ask yourself when the modem was upgraded. The cable companies are constantly trying to improve things. They're always working on things on their end to deliver better. We make fun of them because customer support is sometimes an afterthought with various techs or people that we call and stuff. And they're so big, they don't care about me and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is they don't exist if they're not providing excellent service. So they are constantly working on the back end to make that happen. In doing so, they will get new equipment, they will get new standards, new protocols, new pieces of hardware on their end that will work with what you have. But if you get the current version or the current flavor, the new flavor of whatever it is, the modem or what have you, then it will work even better because it's optimized for that. So, case in point, I had all kinds of problems here. I do not like dealing with the cable company. I don't want to go down to the office. I don't want to unhook everything, take it down there, blow all the dust off, get new stuff, have to come in here and reconfigure and jump through all these hoops and make it mine again. I don't like doing any of that sort of stuff, okay? So I just kind of ignored it. We moved into this house back in 2014. And we still use the same stuff that we had brought from the previous house. Okay, so it had been like 10 years since anything had been done. And I was having Wi-Fi issues. The radio was giving problems. The girls couldn't keep their connections. TVs, were losing their connections. All this kind of stuff. I said, that's it. So I pulled the modem, ran over to the cable office, and said, I need to exchange this, get a new one. And they said, you're on a plan that is so outdated that it's just a footnote here that, and he said,
Right.
let me show you what I can do. And he showed me the plan, and I got a big time upgrade in my thing, and the price was cut by a third. And he said, here's the new modem, and he gave me the modem. It's its own little box. He said, and here's a new router. If you have your own router, then you can bring this one back and save $5 a month. I said, okay. So I came in, hooked it all up, and got it all tested. Blazing speeds, ridiculous, fantastic. I was surprised at just how clean everything was, because it was all optimized to work with their current level of equipment on the back end. And everything was great.
Right.
And then I turned around and bought a mesh wireless system to deploy around the house, took the other modem back like that, and now I have, I was talking about that quality of service thing. The one that I use allows me to go in and say, make this computer and this computer and this computer have priority. So this computer that I'm on has priority, or the TVs have priority. Just whatever you need for your network, So, and it's just basically let these be the, if there's ever a question, the data goes to this one first. So it can be just as simple as that. Anyway, we're gonna have to go, guys. This has been a really good discussion. Your questions have been great. Chris, thank you so much for funneling all that over to us. And I hope that you guys have learned something. I hope that it's opened your eyes about stuff. We're going to, if you have questions, you can leave them in the comments on this. We're going to be trimming it later today, so the live chat stuff will go away. By all means, if you need to restream, then go to getrestream.com and get a account set up there. You can get $10 credit on that first month when you sign up. So take advantage of that. Restream is really cool. It's really efficient, and I am loving it, and have been using it for a few years. In fact, I got rid of Boxcast at our church and got Restream, and saved a lot of money and have more doors open to me. Like if we decide we want to start a Twitch channel, then it's click Twitch and we go. It's really easy. So check that out, getrestream.com. And above all the stuff that we've been talking about today, if you will take what you've learned and apply it in big ways or in small ways, whatever. Oops, let me get rid of that. Then if you will apply it in big ways or small ways, then you will be able to change lives. And that's exactly what we do. So go change lives.